So I've been informed that communism is potentially going to fix your love life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I just need a moment because what do you mean? Are we going to suddenly nationalize boyfriends now? I mean, is there going to be a council issued fiance? And do I need to apply online or is there going to be some sort of government minister for this? Because I'll be honest, the moment we start talking about collective dating, I have a few logistical questions. Are we sharing now? Is there some sort of rotation? Is there going to be a spreadsheet? Because suddenly it sounds less like a romantic utopia and more like an HR nightmare. So, over the long weekend, a friend sent me this clip of Ash Sakar, who I originally thought was the co founder of Your Party with Jeremy Corbyn, but apparently it isn't.
They're the same picture.
I was sent this clip along with the message spitting facts, which made me just want to disagree with it fully. But I know she's trying her hardest to convert me to becoming a socialist.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
I didn't disagree. I mean, I disagree with her overall argument because when you strip it down, it's basically dating apps feel quite bleak, people treat each other badly on them, capitalism has turned romance into something transactional and gamified, and therefore communism, which isn't really a sentence that I thought I'd be saying out loud this week, but she's not wrong about everything. And I think for the first time, I actually understood why so many young people, especially those who aren't deeply political, hear communism and think, yes, this sounds like the answer. So just quickly, just give a little bit of context to this video. I've never actually been on a dating app. I've never been a dating app person. So none of this comes from experience. It's more observational from friends, from culture, from the general sort of emotional chaos that seems to float around them. Because how she's describing dating apps, that part seems real to me.
Where it's true is on the apps. 80% of women go for 20% of men. And that's because you're making judgments about people based on very, very little. And part of it is to do with shallow things like appearance, but there's also deeper things, right? For women, you're swiping not just for, am I attracted to this guy? It's also, do I think he's going to chop me up and put me in sulfuric acid, right? I mean, it's dark, but it's true. You're thinking about all these things, and men have to play a numbers game. What that does is that it cultivates such a sense of both low self-worth and resentment of the opposite sex.
So when she says it feels transactional, yeah. And when she says that it makes people feel disposable, also yes. And when she says that it creates resentment between men and women, unfortunately, yeah. But where she loses me is when she takes that feeling and conflates it to communism. Because no, that's not communism, that is community. Communityism? I mean, communism? And those are not the same thing. Because when you actually listen to it, it's not about systems, it's about the context. It's about the fact that we used to meet people through a sort of shared life, through localism, through friends or work or places that we went to regularly. You'd see the same people, you'd build familiarity, and you'd have a sense of who someone was before anything romantic even happened. There was a whole world around the interactions, and now, frankly, there often isn't. You meet someone in isolation, there's no shared context, no overlap, no reason for the connection to hold you beyond whether both of you happen to feel something in the exact same moment.
When you first get with someone and you're like, I might fancy you and they might fancy me, the bond between you is really weak. It's really, really weak. It could just fizzle out and go nowhere. And you need something to hold you together. Could be shared interest, could be a shared social group, could be, you're both at the same uni or you work in a similar field. When you meet someone from the apps, there's nothing, right? You're meeting without any context whatsoever.
And that's not a particularly stable foundation to build anything on. And I think that's where suddenly it all clicked for me. Because if you've watched, many of my videos, you'll know that I'm really interested in why people think the way that they do. Especially when it comes to something completely outside of my own worldview, especially when it comes to people my age. And this is the first time I watched something and I kind of thought, yeah, I can see why this is landing.
And I'm not separating apps and dating apps from capitalism, right? It's gamified. And this is why I think the ideas around communism are so important is because, Jodie Dean in her work on the commons and also what we have in common, right? There is that which is created by the free association of human beings. And what capitalism does is that it encloses it and commodifies it and turns it into a thing, and invariably it makes it worse.
Because while some do support communism and socialism, their theories, of course, an awful lot of these people aren't necessarily choosing an economic system. They're choosing a feeling. Communism in people's heads has become this kind of little cottages, shared food, everyone equal, no competition, no loneliness, just vibes and vegetables. It's very, we're all in this together. And capitalism, in contrast, has become big corporations, cold cities, everyone competing, rampant isolationism and loneliness, no one caring, people becoming expendable, zero connection, but still expected to show up and perform. And I just think we've started to take a feeling and assign it to an economic system. So loneliness now becomes capitalism, and belonging now becomes communism. And it becomes this idea that if we change the system, everything will just be better. Everyone will get a shot. No gatekeepers, no loneliness. And
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but... but it might work for us.
actually, I do kind of understand where that comes from. Because if you look at certain industries, especially traditional liberal industries like the media or arts or cultural spaces, nepotism is rife. And entry into them feels impossible unless you already know someone in the system. And nor, for the matter, does liberalism mean that everyone is free to do as they please. So people look at that and go, well, the current system clearly isn't working. And instead of asking how to fix the access to it, they just jump to the conclusion that actually maybe we've seen a completely different system. But I don't think that's a failure of capitalism as an idea. I think it's a failure of meritocracy in practice. Because healthy capitalism should create more entry points, not fewer. And when that disappears or even just feels like it hasn't ever appeared, people begin to feel frustrated and they start to look for something that promises better options or opportunities instead. Even if that's not even a real thing. And I think that's just happening with dating now because we're not debating economics at all. We're reacting to how modern life feels. We've got people growing up later. We've got men and women who aren't even part of a community anymore or looking for the same things. We've got this very aesthetic romanticization of being single, which, don't get me wrong, has its perks at times. But it does also mean that fewer people are actually trying to build something at the same time. And especially counts if you've been out of the dating scene for a while. So it's not just 80% of women want 20% of men, it's also that a lot of the people who would match each other aren't even in the same room anymore. And frankly, that room might not even exist anymore because they've opted out, they're waiting, or they're focusing on themselves. Which, don't get me wrong, is lovely and it is important. But is also slightly catastrophic for your dating pool. And also, as a complete side note, I mean, modern dating already seems quite communal in spirit. I mean, we've got who knows how many situationships, shared exes, a light rotation of whoever someone is seeing that week. So I'm not entirely convinced that more collective is the solution. Because I'm all for community, but I do draw the line at communal boyfriends. So no, I'm not going to be signing up for state-issued romance. I don't believe that communism is going to solve our dating crisis. I don't actually think this is about politics. I just think it's about people feeling replaceable and trying to find a system that promises they won't be. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I would quite like my love life to remain privately owned. Thank you very much. But please let me know what you think below. I mean, what do you think will fix our dating problems? What will solve this crisis? And also, if you've met your person on a dating app, please tell me the story because I'm a hopeless romantic and I really love to know how people meet. And also, last one, I promise. I'm so sorry for the terrible upload schedule right now. It's just been a little bit manic, but I promise you it's going to get better. And thank you so much. And do you think about giving this a like and subscribe? And I'll see you again real soon. I promise. Thanks.